The Galactic Medical Academy buzzed with nervous energy as third-year students received their final research assignments. Among the floating crystal towers of the academy, 3 alien medical students stood before the assignment board with growing dread. Alex, a tall blue-skinned Altarian with 4 arms, stared at the holographic display. His breathing slits fluttered with anxiety. Beside him, Maya, a crystalline being from the Vega system, sparkled dim colors of disappointment. The third student, Tom, a reptilian Draxi with scales that shifted from green to worried yellow, hissed softly. "Humans," Alex read aloud, his voice carrying through his throat sacs. "We got assigned to study humans." The 3 students exchanged glances. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans, the violent, unpredictable species from the outer rim. They were famous for their wars, their strange biology, and their tendency to survive things that should kill them. Most civilized species avoided them. "This has to be a mistake," Maya chimed, her crystalline voice ringing like bells. "Humans are too dangerous for medical study. They're barely more than animals." Professor Kane, an ancient being whose species had transcended physical form centuries ago, materialized beside them as a shimmering energy field. "No mistake, students. The Galactic Medical Council has specifically requested comprehensive biological and psychological studies of human specimens. Your research will contribute to the galaxy's understanding of this unusual species." Tom's scales shifted to deep orange, a sign of extreme worry among his people. "But Professor, humans are known to be violent and irrational. They fight wars over resources they don't even need. They poison their own planet for profit. How can we study such creatures safely? You will observe them in their natural habitat through our advanced monitoring systems," the professor explained. "The humans have been selected from various locations on their homeworld. They believe they are participating in a routine medical study for their own species. They have no idea they are being observed by extraterrestrial researchers." Alex's 4 arms gestured frantically. "What exactly are we supposed to study? Their primitive medicine, their barely functional biology." "Everything," Professor Kane replied, his energy form pulsing brighter. "Their healing responses, pain tolerance, emotional reactions to medical procedures, social behaviors during illness, and most importantly, their survival mechanisms. The galaxy needs to understand how such a seemingly fragile species has managed to thrive in one of the most hostile regions of space." Maya's crystalline form dulled further. "They don't even have proper scales or natural armor. Their skin is soft and tears easily. They have only 2 arms, limited sensory organs, and they can't even regenerate lost limbs. What could we possibly learn from such inferior biology?" "That," Professor Kane said, "is exactly what you need to find out. Your assignment is to conduct a full biological and psychological analysis over the next 4 phases. You will document everything, from their response to minor injuries to their behavior during medical emergencies." The professor's form began to fade as he prepared to leave. "Remember, students, the greatest discoveries often come from studying what we don't understand. These humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and countless disasters that would have wiped out more advanced species. There must be something we're missing." As Professor Kane disappeared, the 3 students looked at each other with resignation. Their final project would determine their graduation and future careers in galactic medicine. They had no choice but to proceed. "Well," Tom said, his scales slowly returning to their normal green, "at least we're observing them remotely. How dangerous could it be to just watch?" Alex began pulling up human files on his portable datapad. Images of pale, pink creatures with strange fur only on their heads filled the screen. "Look at them," he muttered. "They're so weird. They walk on only 2 legs, they have tiny teeth, and their eyes are in the front of their heads like predators. But they're so small and weak-looking." Maya examined the data with growing confusion. Their planet has extreme weather variations, dangerous predators, natural disasters, and they have no natural defenses. Yet somehow they've spread across their entire world and even begun exploring space. It doesn't make biological sense. Maybe that's why the medical council wants us to study them, Tom suggested. If we can figure out how such a weak species survives, maybe we can apply that knowledge to help other species. The three students gathered their equipment and prepared to begin their observation. None of them suspected that over the next few weeks, everything they thought they knew about strength, survival, and what it truly meant to be advanced would be completely turned upside down. Their study of humans was about to begin, and the galaxy would never look at Earth's inhabitants the same way again. The observation chamber hummed quietly as Alex, Maya, and Tom settled into their monitoring stations. Multiple holographic screens displayed different human subjects going about their daily lives. Unaware they were being watched by alien medical students. Subject 1 is a human female, approximately 30 Earth years old, Alex reported, his 4 arms working different control panels simultaneously. She appears to be in their medical facility for routine examination. Maya's crystalline form sparkled with curiosity as she watched her assigned subject. Subject 2 is a human male, mid-20s. He's also in a medical setting, but his vital signs are elevated. Is he afraid? Tom's scales shifted to a pale green as he observed his screen. Subject 3 is an elderly human female. Her biological systems show signs of deterioration, which is expected for their species' short lifespan. For the first few hours, everything seemed normal by galactic standards. The humans underwent basic medical procedures: blood draws, temperature checks, simple examinations. The alien students documented everything, noting the humans' primitive medical technology and seemingly fragile biology. Then something unexpected happened. Alex's subject, the young woman, received news that made her emotional display intensify dramatically. The medical staff had found something concerning in her tests. Through the translation matrix, the students could understand the conversation. "I'm sorry," the human doctor said, "but we found some abnormal cells. We need to run more tests to determine if it's cancer." "Cancer," Maya chimed softly. "That's the cellular mutation disease that kills many species across the galaxy. For humans, it should be fatal. But instead of the expected collapse or panic response they'd seen in other species, something remarkable happened. The human woman's face changed, not with fear, but with determination. "Okay," she said firmly. "What do we need to do? When can we start treatment? I have a daughter who needs me." Alex's breathing slits fluttered in confusion. Her stress hormones spiked initially, but now they're stabilizing. She's not showing the typical terror response to a terminal diagnosis. Meanwhile, Tom's elderly subject was revealing something even more puzzling. The old woman was undergoing treatment for multiple failing organ systems, conditions that would have ended most species' lives months ago. Yet she was not only alive, but actively participating in her care. "I've been through worse," she told her doctor with a weak but genuine smile. "Survived the flu pandemic of 20, raised 5 children through 2 economic crashes, buried my husband after 60 years of marriage. This body might be worn out, but I'm not finished yet." Tom's scales shifted to bright yellow with amazement. Her biological systems are operating at less than optimal capacity, yet her neural activity suggests strong mental resilience. How is this possible? The most shocking observation came from Maya's subject. The young man was apparently in the medical facility because he'd been injured in what humans called an accident, a collision between their primitive transportation vehicles. Patient has multiple fractured ribs, internal bleeding, and severe lacerations, the human medical team reported. "We need to operate immediately. By all galactic medical standards, these injuries should have been quickly fatal for such a fragile species." The students watched, expecting to document a typical human death for their research. Instead, they witnessed something that would haunt their understanding forever. The human not only survived the surgery, but began healing at a rate that shocked the alien observers. More incredibly, during his recovery, he kept asking about the other people involved in the accident. "Is the family in the other car okay?" he asked repeatedly, despite his own critical condition. "The little girl, did she get hurt? I saw her through the window right before impact." He's prioritizing other beings' welfare over his own survival, Maya observed, her crystalline form flickering with confusion. This makes no evolutionary sense. Self-preservation should be paramount. But the most disturbing revelation came when the human learned that his actions during the accident, swerving his vehicle to minimize impact with the family, had likely saved their lives while making his own injuries worse. "Good," he whispered, barely conscious. "I'm glad they're safe." Alex's forearms trembled as he recorded the data. He deliberately chose to increase his own harm to protect strangers. This behavior contradicts everything we know about survival instincts. The three students looked at each other across the observation chamber. In just one day of study, the humans had already shattered multiple assumptions about biological behavior, survival responses, and evolutionary logic. "Maybe," Tom said quietly, his scales a confused mixture of colors. "We don't understand humans as well as we thought." As their subjects settled into sleep cycles, the alien medical students prepared for the next phase of observation, unaware that their subjects were about to demonstrate capabilities that would challenge everything the galaxy believed about strength and survival. Day 3 of the human study brought revelations that left the alien medical students questioning their fundamental understanding of biology and survival. Alex had been monitoring his subject's treatment for the cellular mutation disease. By all galactic medical knowledge, the human woman should have been weakening rapidly. Instead, something unprecedented was happening. Her immune system is not just fighting the cancer cells, Alex reported, his forearms gesturing frantically at the data displays. It's actually adapting and becoming more effective with each treatment cycle. The human woman, whose name was Lisa, had begun what humans called chemotherapy, a treatment that essentially poisoned the entire body to kill the mutated cells. For most galactic species, such a treatment would be instantly fatal. "She's tolerating toxin levels that would kill 3 Altarians," Alex continued, his breathing slits working overtime. "And her psychological state remains stable. She's even making jokes with the medical staff." Maya's subject was providing equally impossible data. The young man, called Jack, was not only healing from his severe injuries, but doing so while maintaining what humans called optimism. "Patient is requesting to speak with the family from the other vehicle," Maya observed. "He wants to apologize for the accident, even though medical records indicate he prevented a more serious collision through his actions." When the family visited, the alien students witnessed something that broke every rule in their medical textbooks. Jack's healing rate actually accelerated in response to positive social interaction. His cellular regeneration increased by 23% during the family's visit. Maya chimed in amazement. "Emotional state is directly affecting physical recovery. This should be impossible." But Tom's subject provided the most shocking revelation yet. The elderly woman, called Rose, had been given what humans termed a terminal diagnosis: multiple organ failure with a predicted survival time of weeks. That was 6 months ago. Her biological systems continue declining according to predicted models, Tom reported, his scales shifting through confused color patterns. Yet she remains conscious, active, and engaged. She's currently teaching other patients how to knit. Through their monitoring systems, the students watched Rose working with patients much younger than herself, showing them how to create clothing items with simple tools and fiber. "Why are you helping them when you're sicker than they are?" a human nurse asked Rose during one of these sessions. Rose's weathered face creased into what humans call a smile. "Honey, I've lived 89 years on this planet. I've seen enough to know that keeping busy and helping others is the best medicine there is. Besides, these young folks have lives to get back to." The alien students recorded every interaction, but the data made no sense according to their medical training. "She should be conserving energy for survival," Tom muttered. "Instead, she's expending resources to assist others. It's completely backwards from an evolutionary standpoint." Professor Kane materialized in the observation chamber, his energy form pulsing with curiosity. "How are your subjects progressing, students?" Alex's forearms drooped with exhaustion. "Professor, everything we're observing contradicts established medical science. The humans are surviving conditions that should kill them, healing faster than should be possible, and prioritizing others over self-preservation. Their biology appears to have backup systems for their backup systems," Maya added, her crystalline form dim with confusion. "When one system fails, others compensate in ways we've never documented in any species." Tom's scales had settled into a permanent confused orange. Most disturbing is their psychological response to medical crisis. Instead of the expected fear and withdrawal, they become more social, more determined, and actually seem to draw strength from helping others. Professor Kane's energy form brightened with interest. "And what conclusions are you drawing from these observations?" The three students exchanged glances. They had been trained in the most advanced medical science in the galaxy, yet these primitive humans were demonstrating capabilities that their textbooks said were impossible. "Either our understanding of biology is fundamentally flawed," Alex said slowly, "or humans represent something completely unique in galactic evolution." "Consider this," Professor Kane suggested. "Perhaps what you're witnessing isn't biological impossibility, but a different approach to survival entirely. What if strength isn't just about physical resilience or individual preservation?" Maya's form sparkled with a new thought. "You mean their social connections and mental attitude are actually biological advantages?" "Continue your observations," Professor Kane instructed as he began to fade. "But start documenting not just what humans can survive, but how they choose to survive. The answer may be more profound than you realize." As their professor disappeared, the three students returned to their monitors with new questions. They were beginning to suspect that their human subjects weren't just surviving despite their apparent weaknesses. They were thriving because of something the galaxy had never encountered before. Something that had nothing to do with scales, claws, or regeneration, and everything to do with what humans called spirit. 2 weeks into their study, the alien medical students faced a crisis that would forever change their understanding of what it meant to be strong. A medical emergency had occurred at the human facility. Through their monitoring systems, Alex, Maya, and Tom watched as their subjects faced the ultimate test of survival, not individually, but together. The facility's power systems had failed during a severe storm, backup generators were offline, and several patients were in critical condition requiring immediate life support. The human medical staff was overwhelmed, and normal protocols were breaking down. "This is it," Alex said grimly, his forearms working frantically to record everything. "We'll finally see how humans really behave when survival is at stake. Without their technology and medical support, they'll revert to self-preservation instincts." But what happened next defied every prediction in galactic behavioral science. Lisa, the woman undergoing cancer treatment who should have been weakest of all, was the first to act. Despite her own compromised immune system and ongoing chemotherapy, she began organizing other patients to help the medical staff. "I used to be a nurse before I got sick," she told a panicking medical technician. "Tell me what needs to be done." Within minutes, she had coordinated a human chain of patients and visitors to manually operate equipment that had lost power, taking turns to maintain life support for the most critical cases. Jack, still recovering from his severe injuries, was using his engineering background to jury-rig temporary power solutions from maintenance equipment and vehicle batteries brought in from the parking area. "I can't lift much with these broken ribs," he told the maintenance staff, "but I can tell you exactly how to wire these systems together safely." But it was Rose, the 89-year-old with multiple organ failure, who provided the most shocking demonstration of human capability. When a young child in the pediatric ward began having respiratory failure, Rose somehow managed to make her way to the child's room. The monitoring systems showed her vital signs were dangerously low, yet she positioned herself next to the small patient and began manually assisting the child's breathing using techniques she'd learned decades earlier. During World War I was a field medic, she explained to a stunned doctor. We didn't have machines then either. Sometimes you just have to keep going. For 6 hours, Rose maintained that child's life through manual intervention, never stopping even as her own systems continued shutting down. Tom's scales had gone completely white, a color his species displayed only in the presence of something sacred or incomprehensible. She's dying, he whispered. All her major organs are failing, yet she's keeping another being alive through sheer determination. The alien students watched as their subjects transformed the medical crisis into something resembling a coordinated military operation, with each human contributing whatever they could despite their own conditions. Patients with minor injuries became runners, carrying supplies and messages between floors. Family members with no medical training learned basic procedures in minutes. Even children too young to help physically were contributing by keeping other patients calm with songs and stories. They're not just surviving the crisis, Maya observed, her crystalline form flickering with awe. They're thriving during it. Their performance is actually improving under stress. Professor Kane materialized suddenly, his energy form brighter than the students had ever seen. Emergency protocols have been activated across the Galactic medical network, he announced. Word of your human subjects' behavior during this crisis has reached the medical council. They're demanding immediate analysis. Alex looked up from his monitoring station. Professor, we don't understand what we're seeing. These humans are performing beyond their biological capabilities. They're accessing energy reserves that shouldn't exist, demonstrating skills they've never used, and prioritizing group survival over individual preservation. The young human female with the cellular mutation disease has been maintaining her own treatment schedule while simultaneously managing the entire patient coordination effort. Maya added, her immune system readings are actually stronger now than they were before the crisis began. Tom's voice was barely a whisper. The elderly female. Rose, her biological systems should have shut down hours ago, yet she's still maintaining life support for the child. It's as if her body is refusing to fail while another being needs her help. Professor Kane's energy form pulsed with something the students had never seen before, what they would later recognize as respect. Students, he said quietly, you are witnessing something the galaxy has never documented. You are observing a species that has evolved not just to survive, but to ensure the survival of others, even at the cost of their own lives. The power flickered back on in the human medical facility, but the alien students barely noticed. They were too busy documenting the impossible, a species that became stronger when they should have been weakest, and found power not in their own capabilities, but in their connections to each other. The final phase of their study was about to begin, and with it, a revelation that would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. 3 months after beginning their study of humans, Alex, Maya, and Tom stood before the entire Galactic Medical Council, preparing to present findings that would revolutionize medicine across the galaxy. The great amphitheater of the Medical Academy was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all eager to hear about the primitive humans from the Outer Rim. Most expected confirmation of humanity's weakness and inferiority. They were about to learn they had been spectacularly wrong. Professor Kane introduced the students, his energy form glowing with pride. These 3 researchers have spent extensive time studying human subjects in their natural medical environment. Their findings have implications that extend far beyond medicine into the very nature of survival and evolution. Alex stepped forward first, his 4 arms displaying holographic data that made the assembled aliens murmur in disbelief. Humans possess what we're calling adaptive resilience, he began. When faced with medical trauma that should be fatal, their biology doesn't just fight to survive. It literally rewrites itself to become stronger. We documented cases of immune systems that learned to defeat diseases in real time, healing rates that accelerated under stress, and cellular regeneration that defied known biological limits. The crowd rustled with skepticism until Alex showed the footage of Lisa, the cancer patient who had not only survived her disease, but had emerged with an immune system so robust that she was now helping develop treatments for other patients. This human female's body didn't just defeat the cellular mutations, Alex continued. It created biological defenses that are now being studied by human medical researchers as potential cures for others. Maya approached the central display, her crystalline form sparkling with excitement. But the physical adaptations are only part of the story. Humans have evolved something we're calling social healing, the ability to draw strength from connections with other beings. The holographic displays showed Jack's recovery rate during different phases of his treatment. The graphs clearly demonstrated that his healing accelerated dramatically whenever he was helping or interacting with others. This human male healed 40% faster when he was engaged in assisting other patients, Maya explained. His body was literally converting social interaction into biological energy. We've never seen anything like it in galactic medical literature. But it was Tom who delivered the most shocking revelation. His scales had permanently shifted to a golden color, something his species displayed only when they had witnessed something of profound universal importance. The most significant finding concerns what humans call purpose-driven survival, Tom announced. We documented multiple cases of humans whose biological systems continued functioning far beyond their natural limits when they believed others needed their help. The amphitheater fell silent as Tom displayed Rose's medical data. The reading showed a being whose organs had failed weeks ago, yet who had continued living through sheer determination to help others. This human female survived for 3 additional months with multiple organ failure, simply because she believed other patients needed her assistance. Her body was operating on what we can only describe as willpower. Professor Kane materialized at the center of the amphitheater. Students, please share your conclusions with the council. The 3 alien medical students looked at each other, then back at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. We came to study what we believed was a weak, primitive species, Alex said. Instead, we discovered the most evolutionarily advanced survival mechanism in the known galaxy. Humans don't survive despite their apparent fragility, Maya added. They survive because of their ability to find strength in each other. Tom's golden scales gleamed as he delivered their final observation. Every other species in the galaxy has evolved to survive through individual superiority, better weapons, stronger bodies, advanced technology. Humans evolved to survive through connection, cooperation, and an absolute refusal to give up on each other. The council chambers erupted in discussion. Representatives from warrior species were demanding to know how they could develop such resilience. Medical researchers were frantically requesting human tissue samples and cooperation agreements. But Professor Kane raised his energy form for silence. The implications of this research extend beyond medical applications. These findings suggest that what we've considered weakness in humans, their emotional connections, their tendency to prioritize others over themselves, their refusal to accept defeat, are actually the most powerful survival traits in the universe. As the alien medical students concluded their presentation, the galaxy's understanding of strength, survival, and evolution had been forever changed. The primitive humans from the Outer Rim had just taught the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy what it truly meant to be strong. And across the universe, species that had dismissed humanity as weak began to wonder, what other secrets might these remarkable beings be hiding? The study was complete, but humanity's story in the galaxy was just beginning.